Welcome everybody inside the coach's office. I'm your host Dan Murphy, alongside my co-host Brian Barnes. And Brian, our whole show tonight is dedicated to the college football playoff rankings. The final rankings to decide who is going to be in the playoffs came out today. And my goodness, was there many things to talk about that came out of this. So much controversy, so much inconsistencies from week to week, and these final rankings were absolutely wild. Brian, what are your initial thoughts when you saw these come out earlier today?
I don't. This is going to sound like hyperbole and a crazy exaggeration, but I think it's cataclysmic for what we know about college football. I really do, because it's proven and it's not about records, right? It's not about the best 12 teams. It's about getting 12 teams that may or may not deserve to be there. We could talk about the group of five and then the fact that there are two group of five teams ahead of a team that was in the finals last year, Notre Dame, who got better or who were better than they were a year ago talent-wise. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about, it's about the strength of schedule. It's about the eye test. It's about game control. But you think about it, all those things that I just mentioned, none of that is factual. Like, those are all given to us by people on the networks. Like, this team has the better strength of schedule, or it's all still based on opinion, which is what I go back to. Like, there are talking heads telling us who the better teams are, and you can believe it or not, right? And which goes back to what I've talked about forever. It's mythical. It's fun to talk about. It's great. But it also is flawed and forever will be flawed. And the cataclysmic part to me is the follow-up, where you've had three major programs, Iowa State, Kansas State, and the biggest, Notre Dame, decide not to go to a bowl game, okay? For whatever reason. The other two, Iowa State and Kansas State, roster reconstruction, they're dealing with stuff, coaching changes, and who knows what, right? But Notre Dame, that's a big deal. And I saw a tweet, I think from Brett McMurphy, who said he referenced somebody close to college, the NCAA, that the bowl games as we know it are over. And that sucks. That's a bummer for us fans, because
do they suck though? I mean, are you going to really miss out on some of these bowls that the sponsor changes every single year?
No.
And
I'm going to miss waking up on January 1st, knowing I'm going to watch, the Citrus Bowl, right? I'm going to watch the Fiesta Bowl, and then look forward to later on in the day, the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl at night, and the Cotton Bowl in the morning too, right? I'm going to miss that.
That part's been gone.
Correct. Now my thought is like this was interesting. I had a great conversation earlier with Dan Federosi from Aaron Consulting that we're gonna reference at some point and we'll show our listeners and viewers. But he talked about how the big change, what would be really cool, is now have those bowl games like your week 0 games. Right. So you qualify and you win a championship or whatever your requirements are, make that your week 1 or your week 0 games the following year. So they still have validity in the history and the tradition and the cool parts of that. That was an interesting take, I thought. But the way we know, I'm bummed that I enjoyed watching bowl games. People talked about, why did we always have all those bowl games? Well, it's because people watched it. We watched it. Fans watch those games, and the ratings for those games were still bigger than any NCAA tournament game. You know what I'm saying? I mean, any regular season NBA, NHL game right now, they just were. People enjoyed watching that, and fans of those teams enjoyed watching it. And now, we've talked about this before. If you're not in that upper echelon, namely just the Big Ten and the SEC, at some point you're going to be relegated to much lower. So imagine the MAC schools who, Western Michigan just won the MAC, and now they get to play at Ford Field and whatever the Little Caesars Bowl is now, whatever, at Ford Field, right? But those fans and alums and students look forward to going to that. And who knows what that's
those might not exist.
Those might not exist. What's the point of them? You know what I'm saying? Because now the concern is maybe hey, the transfer portal is going to hit, or should I stay healthy knowing that like I can, I have a contact at this, Power 5 school, right? So that's what bums me out the most as a fan thinking about it today. And, I don't have direct ties to Notre Dame or BYU, or Vanderbilt is another one, right? But yeah, just all that is disappointing.
Well, you brought up that this is all decided by just a group of people in a room, just a committee that gets together to decide these things. And before we get into this, because we're both gonna probably get pretty fired up with this stuff, I just want to bring a little levity to this whole thing. And this is a clip. It's just a little clip, but this is the late great Mike Leach, former coach at the time here. He was at Washington State. And they were asking him about, but at the time there wasn't a playoff yet. I think it's back in 2018, or they expanded playoff. And they were just kind of asking him about like having a committee to decide the playoff. And it was just pretty funny about what he had to say about a committee coming together to decide the playoffs.
Because why not? Because, we're American. We love committees. Let's get us a committee. Well, who should be on the committee? Well, I don't know. This guy's a good guy. Let's have him on the committee. Well, I mean, there's people on the committee that don't even have remote associations with football, nor have they at any level other than being a fan. But you know what? Let's have them on a committee. Why not? And then, I mean, it'd be fun. We'd go to that resort. We could talk. We could hang out at dinner.
Pretty far from like, but he's right on the money, right? I mean, it is like, who are these people making these decisions? Are they really even watching these games? Do they understand the ins and outs of these teams and week in and week out? And they're the ones that are making this decision. And Brian, like, I'm going to go ahead and pull them up right now. These were the final rankings that came out today. I read this real quick. Bam, there we go. So these were the final rankings that came out. These are the brackets. And I mean, obviously what jumps out immediately and what the hot point and what the hot topics are is Notre Dame gets bumped out. And that's where I want to start everything with, Brian. Notre Dame's been in pretty much since probably week 3, week 4, somewhere along those lines. They've been in, but more specifically, probably like mid-season. They've been solidly in the playoffs. And even just as late as just a couple weeks ago, they were ranked 9th. So 2 weeks ago, they were ranked 9th. Their final 2 games, they won those games by a combined 99 points. So what happened that allowed Notre Dame to fall out of the playoffs in just the last couple of weeks?
Nothing happened. I think it's
there's no answers.
No, I think it's quite apparent that Notre Dame, the reason they were on these weekly rankings part of it was to drive viewership. Like, don't kid yourself. Like we talk about the committee, and ESPN will say they don't have anything to do with this and whatnot, but like, they all do. Like, you can't deny there's going to be some form of bias on there. And I saw somebody made a joke that Mark D'Antonio finally got back at Notre Dame for a phantom pass interference call that kept Michigan State out of a national championship game in 2014 by not including them in the playoff. But I mean, that was all tongue in cheek. But Dan, that's the reality of it. Like I said, it's I think it's now more apparent than ever that it's been like this when people have been saying it, but driven by money. But
I don't get that though. I get that doesn't make sense to me because it's Notre Dame. I could understand if you were talking about BYU got knocked out. I understand BYU doesn't have the brand, doesn't have the cachet. I get that.
So
this is Notre Dame.
So that's another one then. Is that the committee and the powers that be strong arming them to join a conference? And I know that logic bothers me a little bit too, that people that just say, well, all they had to do is join a conference. Well, tell Duke that, right? Who won their conference and they're not remotely close, and they're not in two group of fives are ahead of them. So, I mean, that bothers me. That to me is anti-Notre Dame sentiment, and that's out there, especially locally. I get that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
For
that's
sure.
stuff I had to when I'm, kind of parsing through Twitter and trying to get information. That's the stuff I kind of had to filter out,
Yeah,
like
that's
the bias against Notre Dame.
yeah.
Like I had to filter that stuff out because I just wanted to try to find the information. I'm trying to find some concrete answers as to why Notre Dame would get jumped by Miami now.
Yeah.
I can understand. Like I think it was Herb Street that brought it up. And I'm 100% on board with this. Like, if there hadn't been rankings week in and week out for the last 7-8 weeks,
Correct.
and they just brought out this bracket today,
Correct.
and we hadn't seen anything up to this point, I probably wouldn't be that upset.
Correct.
Because you could say, because you could have some, understanding. Okay, Miami got in over Notre Dame because of the head-to-head. Okay,
Correct.
well, that makes sense. Like, you wouldn't have the argument, and we're going to get about this in a minute, but like Alabama and Georgia play conference championship game, one team absolutely dominates and neither team moves in the rankings from one way to the other. Like
Correct.
That makes no sense.
Correct.
Like you have all these inconsistencies that happen because they're bringing out these rankings week to week. Whereas if you just brought them out at the very end, you wouldn't have all this controversy.
No, to that point, like if the head-to-head Miami Notre Dame was a thing this entire time, why didn't it reflect that in the rankings?
Why didn't it matter on Tuesday?
That's what I'm saying.
On Tuesday.
Yeah. So that's what. So again, to my point, I think it's, hey, Notre Dame's in there, and like, yeah. I mean,
the funniest comment I saw was they're saying, like, how did Miami jump Notre Dame this week? Neither team played a game. There was no way to really tell. Well, Miami had a really great week of practice.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame not as much.
That's
Miami just really looked great in their week of practice this week, and we had to put them ahead of them.
Yeah, and so that's where I get bothered with like again, if it's gonna be like the NFL, then make it the NFL, like all the way around. I mean, it's gonna be a challenge because you have 300 some odd schools, right? As opposed to 32 or whatever it is in the NFL. So that's why I said you're gonna have your haves, your schools that are really putting up the money and the resources to be legitimate, and those that won't. In my opinion, you just have to, because of this reason. Because people can talk about, well, expand the playoff even more. Well, again, like we've expanded it now 3 times. We've gone from just straight up voters to the BCS to a 4-team and now 12. And each time somebody has bitched about not getting in to the playoff. And you could advance it to 16. You could advance it to it doesn't matter. There's always going to be an issue.
I mean, you could. I had texted you earlier today, and I kind of showed you, like, hey, this is what a 16-team format would look like for this year, and it would work out for this year if we had a 16-team format. But that doesn't excuse, like, hey, 2 years down the line, something might come up where, like, for whatever reason, a team should be in and they're not. Now we got to expand to 24, and you just keep going and going.
I'm bothered by this. Why? I've mentioned the group of 5s. Okay, and 3-loss Alabama. Like, why are these teams theoretically competing for a national championship to begin with? Like, are they really deserving of no, I don't like. They're not.
I agree.
Like, listen, like it's funny. Like, hey, we want to get more teams in. Well, Oregon's line against James Madison is like 21 already, 20, and I haven't seen Ole Miss.
I think that's going to continue to go up throughout the week.
Of course it is, right? Like, It just boggles my mind. It just boggles my mind. So there's the solution. It's crazy, man. I think
we'll get into the James Madison and Tulane issue in a second, but I want to start off the next point I want to get into is the Georgia Alabama aspect, and what do conference championships matter? And why would they matter for one team and not matter for another team? Okay, so Georgia and Alabama were both 3-9 going into the week.
Yep.
Georgia dominates Alabama, wins by 3 touchdowns. First part of this, why wouldn't Georgia move above Ohio State? Georgia is a conference champion. They're a 1-loss team. They have looked dominant, and they just were dominant in the most recent game. Where Ohio State's most recent game, they lost. Yes, it was to the number 1 team in the country. I get that. But Georgia, I think, is more deserving after Saturday to have jumped up to number 2, and they don't, right? They stay in number 3 despite beating Alabama by 3 touchdowns and winning the SEC championship. Conversely, Alabama, this is even more of an issue. They were number 9. They play a game. They lose by 3 touchdowns, get dominated. Don't move. They stay at 9. So I guess, okay, all right, fine. The precedent is being set that the conference championships don't matter. That opens up a whole nother can of worms that we can get into. But if we're going to set that precedent for now, championship games don't matter. Okay, BYU was in the college football playoff as of Tuesday. They play a conference championship game. They get dominated by Texas Tech, who's ranked 4th. BYU's knocked out. They're not in it. So does it matter or does it not matter? It's inconsistencies within this own bracket in this week.
I think the obvious answer is if you keep Alabama out, man, the SEC and Greg Sankey, the commissioner, like ESPN, like there's never a conference championship game again, right? And you know the reason why they have conference championship games. Like, don't kid yourself. Again, it's revenue, it's money, right? Like all
they have conference tournaments in basketball,
of course, which are silly, which I hate those too, and I can't stand them. Of course, it is just money, and like there's your answer. Like Alabama had to know going in, like they were the top, like they were a higher seed, I think, going into the SEC championship game. Like you knew they weren't going to keep them out with a loss, right? BYU, it's just BYU, right? Of course, the committee and the networks are going to protect their big dogs. Of course they are, and which is unfortunate for BYU because
this opens up. Funny. If I'm Georgia next year, I'm in the same situation. Who just don't play the game, or just play your third strings?
Of course it is,
because you dominated in the game and won by 3 touchdowns against your arch rival for the SEC championship. That's supposed to be the most tough conference in the country. You didn't move.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Correct.
Why play it?
You're going to see, and that's something, like I mentioned, Dan Federosi and I talked a little bit about earlier with this. And again, I think it's cataclysmic. Like, I think the game is forever changed. Like, what's going to happen when you see a team refuse to play in the conference championship game? Because again, we brought it up. Like, okay, Ohio State didn't have to play in it last year. Like, yes, I mean, Indiana's fired up and Michigan fans are fired up that Ohio State still hasn't won a Big Ten championship for it. That who cares anymore? Like, it doesn't matter. Those are the same champions. Those are the same Michigan fans that'll say, "Oh, nothing matters until the basketball tournament. The regular season doesn't matter." Like, that's the same thing, right? It is the same thing. So, why did Ohio State play that game? Why did BYU, like you said? Why did Texas Tech? Like, they weren't going to fall out if they dropped.
If BYU just didn't play it, just didn't play the game.
They're 11-1. Okay,
they might be in the playoff.
They're 11-1 and they're in. No question. No question. No question.
So we've already. I think you brought it up with the bowl game, right? Notre Dame declined to play in the bowl game. They're the biggest dogs.
The one that matters.
Decline a bowl game, but there's other teams that have declined it as well.
Yep.
That's the start, right? That's the start. That's the first step. The next step is going to be teams just saying we're not playing conference championships. Why would we play it? And if they do play it, they're just going to play their third stringer. So everybody's going to know, hey, they're treating this as an exhibition game. This isn't who they are. This isn't their real team. So this doesn't matter. We're not going to include this into our rankings. We're not going to include this into our criteria.
You don't really have spring ball anymore, a spring game anymore. So they could treat that as their spring game, and like you said, like play all their 2s and 3s and just get those.
And the other aspect, Brian, and this is already beginning to happen. Teams are not going to play non-conference games that matter.
Absolutely
not. Any ones that are already on the books, a lot of them are just going to say, "Hey, we're not doing this.
Absolutely not.
We're not doing this." Because look at Michigan. Right. Michigan doesn't play Oklahoma. They're probably in the playoff.
They're in.
Texas, if they don't play Ohio State, they're probably in, or at least have a very strong argument.
The Texas, they're in. Yep. They beat Oklahoma. I mean, yeah, they're in. Dan, we could go back and forth. It's the only sport it's all based on opinions and things of that nature, and it's not perfect, and it's frustrating, and it's governed by money just like everything. But this is, like I said, I think this is cataclysmic, man. I think, which bummed me out. I had this conversation with a relative today. Like, yeah, it's robbing some of the joy I had when I was a kid, when I was younger, right? Like I love the bowl games, and I love the meaning, how meaningful those regular season games were, and people can talk about you expand to 16 or whatever like that. That does. I'm sorry, for me, that doesn't do it for me. That's great. We have 4 more teams in right now. Whoop-de-doo. Those are 4 more teams that I don't think. The funny thing is Notre Dame, I think, was the odds would have been the third third highest
That's
betting
what I
favorite.
I texted to you before.
Yeah, you did.
I never thought Notre Dame had a chance in that not getting in. Even when the talk of it before last week was like, ooh, maybe they're on the like. There's no way. There's no way they're gonna leave them out.
No, like
I can't believe it. I really can't. I can't believe it.
So, because if you want to go back to strength of schedule with Notre Dame, and people hammer that, right? Okay, so like Ohio State, who did they beat this year? That was a top 25 team. Michigan?
Texas is their one.
Texas, you're right. Thank you. Who fell out of the top 25 and really ended up struggling, not being as good as we thought they were, right? I think that's just such a flawed thing. Like, there has to be some qualifications to make it, have an opportunity. Like, it's,
and that's what's so frustrating to me. That's what's so frustrating to me, Brian, is that there's no structure, there's no criteria, there's no set precedent.
No,
like it's just whatever this committee feels on a whim, week to week.
So
it's not even season to season; it's literally week to week.
Yeah. Well, here's to that point, like you said, there's nothing set in stone that says, hey, you qualify for this. All right. So something Dan and I talked about earlier again, which is really cool. So the NFL, right? The last year, the Lions and Vikings played a game week 17 that would have determined the number 1 seed, and the loser went to the number 7 seed, right? Not perfect, but at least there's a standard of like, okay, like here's what you have to do to be a playoff team, or here's what you have to do to be the number 1 seed or host a playoff game, right? This is all, again, it's all based on somebody's eyeballs and somebody's opinion and somebody's metrics, whatever they might be, right? To me, it's no different than when we had the computers for the BCS. People complained about that. It's just flawed, Dan. I'm bummed as a fan today. Like, it's just adding to my midlife crisis, man. Like, it's
what frustrates me as a coach. Like, I'm thinking of like Marcus Freeman, right? You go into the last 2 games of your season, and you're pretty firmly in the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. They play Syracuse at home. You were at this game.
Mm-hmm.
They're up 70-0.
Yep.
70-0.
Yep.
Now, if he were to go back in that situation, if I were him, I'm playing my starters. I'm trying to go to 150.
Yep.
I'm trying to beat them 150-0.
So the other point to that, Dan, is Notre Dame might have the best player in college football on their team. And you're telling me they're not one of the 12 best teams right now in college football?
They've won 10 in a row.
Correct. Jeremiah Love might be the best player in college football right now.
Their 2 losses, and I know we love talking about quality losses. Their 2 losses are to top 10 teams by a combined 4 points. Miami and Texas A&M.
So let's do this. Notre Dame, I think, is favored against. They're definitely favored against the 2 group of 5 teams. I think they're favored against Alabama. I think they're favored against Oklahoma. I think they're favored against Ole Miss.
Let's do this. Let's assume neutral all these games are a neutral field.
Yep.
I think they're favored against every team on here except Ohio State, Georgia, and Indiana. And maybe even Indiana. They might still even be favored against Indiana.
Agreed.
More based on kind of how the bettors are going to, how the public's
correct.
But
agreed.
It would be close.
Yep.
But those would be the 3. There would only be 3 on this bracket that would be favored over Notre Dame.
Yep. Their 2 losses could have gone either way. It wasn't like Miami or Texas A&M were leaps and bounds better than them. So I agree. Like, you could say the same thing. Like, this is what bothers me. Like, Vanderbilt, they're favored against the 2 group of 5s, right?
I think they're probably favored against Miami.
I think they're favored against Miami. I just think it's
Texas. You could throw
There's
Texas
a crazy part. They might be listen, Notre Dame, Texas Tech, neutral field.
Yeah, Notre Dame's favored. I'm picking Notre Dame all day.
Yeah, no doubt. No, Vanderbilt, Texas Tech.
That's why I said there's only 3 on this list that would be favored over Notre Dame, and Indiana is even questionable.
Crazy, just Bob. I don't know, man. Here's the other thing. If you want to add to this, right? Why have conferences at all? People are talking about Notre Dame getting in a conference. Your conference champion in the ACC is not in a playoff. So what are we doing?
Yeah, you have
so
the
that happened with Florida State.
ACC has one team in, Brian. The ACC has one team in.
Yeah.
It's not their conference champion.
Or the conference finals.
What are we doing? That would be like, if you were to compare, that would be like the NFL
Yes.
and the Packers winning the division, the NFC North, but the Lions are the only team in the NFC North that gets in.
Yes.
It would make absolutely no sense, right?
Nope.
It would make absolutely no sense. That's what happened here.
Yep.
The ACC champion is at home, while another team that's in the ACC that didn't even play in the ACC championship is in the playoff. No sense.
And I go back to it. It's not like, Manny Diaz, coach at Duke, can now walk into kids' homes, potential recruits' homes, and say, "Hey, we're ACC champs. We're doing great things." That doesn't matter anymore. Like, don't stop pretending that matters. It doesn't, right? If they got a big pocketbook, you're right. That'll help him get kids. Not winning the ACC championship. I mean, he can feel good about it, put it on his resume, but it doesn't matter.
So the next point we got to get into, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but this current system that we have has allowed for 2 group of 5 teams to be in. When there's multiple teams that we just mentioned that we feel are maybe not even top 12, some of them, like Notre Dame, is top 5 worthy. You got these 2 teams, James Madison and Tulane, that are in from the group of 5. Now, the whole reason kind of you allow a group of 5 teams to get in is so you get a team like a Boise State that has been a good program for a long time. They've had many years where they've been undefeated, where they haven't had an opportunity to play for it all. This was kind of supposed to fix that. Well, what happens here, you don't have a group of 5 team that's great. You don't have a group of 5 team that's undefeated. You don't have a group of 5 team that's impressive. But yet this year, in the playoff system, you're getting 2 of them.
Yeah.
You're getting 2 group of 5 teams that have no business being in this.
No, and there will never be again, so Boise State beat Oklahoma. That's what everybody goes back to in the Fiesta Bowl. And again, that's great. So could theoretically James Madison or Tulane wins a round 1 game, right? Okay. Everybody wants a quote unquote Cinderella. I'm sorry. That's great. People reference Arizona State a year ago, same thing, competing and what, that doesn't do it for me. I want to see the best. That doesn't do it for me. You're not going to get a Cinderella that makes a long run like Butler in basketball, right? Or George Mason in basketball because of the physicality of the game. It's just different.
Yeah. In college basketball, Brian, you can have a couple really hot 3-point shooters.
Yes.
And then you can have a really good zone defense and force a good team to have to shoot from the outside, and they're just cold that night.
Yep.
You can get a couple hot 3-point shooters and you get on a little bit of a run, like Davidson, with Steph Curry. That's an extreme example. Yep. But I remember, Davidson going on those runs, as a big, Cinderella. You can have that in basketball. You can't do that in football when you have offensive and defensive linemen and you got to win in the trenches. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get a Cinderella that's going to win 4 straight and win the whole thing. It's not going to happen. You're not. James Madison or Tulane are not going on runs. Maybe we can clip this in 4 weeks and come back to it, and I'll look like an idiot. But I don't think so.
They're not. And the thing is with college basketball, again, I know they have the auto bids and stuff like that, but you're still those teams you're talking about. You're still theoretically, a lot of the teams that qualify are still 60 or 61. They're not top 12. That's what gets me. This is not the 12 best college football teams. This right here is not. It's just not. No. But it's funny though. Here's our point with everything, Dan. Am I saying that based on factual evidence, the team that had the most wins or the team that did this? No, I'm saying that on my opinion. This is all. That's our opinion. Eye test. Crazy.
The problem is that James Madison and Tulane didn't have the schedule that you could.
I know, but
you could dictate it. You could really, look at the common opponent.
If you're just going by eye test, and Michigan fans won't want to hear this, but in 2002, Ohio State won the national championship. There were games. I think they were trailing Cincinnati week 1 that season. And had a couple close games that year, barely beat Purdue, had to get a big 4th down pass right in the 4th quarter. they would not have passed the eye test, quote unquote eye test. They just did not look the part, right? And they ultimately, that's just because of how they played. They mucked it up, right? And they won the national championship undefeated. Like, it's just silly. It is. It's just silly.
What I mean, there's so many aspects of this that frustrate me. What is the one thing that you are most frustrated about with this whole thing?
Okay, so let's go in order from back to front. How's that? Because there's, like you said, there's so many. The Notre Dame situation, and I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I'm not a Notre Dame junkie. I just think it's, like, to your point, like, what's the point of having them there? Where, I mean, I know the answer, but, like, why have them where they were each week if it's just going to flip and they didn't do anything wrong? The conference championship fiasco, like, is it real or not? Is it worth it or not? There's no definition there. And then I've said this for a long time. I think every episode we've had talking about this, it's the group of fives. I just don't think they belong. They don't. It's great. Hey, whoop-de-doo, like, it's great. You know what I mean? I just put either of those teams in the Big Ten or SEC. They're a 500 team. Yeah, they're Northwestern. I mean, you know what I mean? They're Illinois. Illinois is better than both of them.
That's got to change. Like, it's got to change.
USC is better.
You cannot have two group of five teams in this. I mean, what are we doing? How is that even an option to do that? It's beyond. I'd rather have Duke in. I'd rather just have Duke in there. At least you can say, like, hey, they won the ACC.
Yep.
Like, yeah, they got 5 losses. It was just a bizarre year.
Yep.
But hey, they won the ACC.
Yep.
They won the ACC. They got in. They should be in there.
Yep.
They get over probably James Anderson.
Although, hey, Tulane did beat Duke, and that was at Tulane, and apparently
so they're the 11th seed, and Duke.
That's not a bad loss. That's not a bad loss for Duke. You could crank. They lost to a.
But I will say this, Brian. I am pretty hyped up for the Ole Miss Tulane rematch. That Tulane lost by 25 when they played her. God.
I mean, ESPN will hype that thing up with no Lane Kiffin, right? They just will.
And the revenge factor.
Yeah. But let's keep it real. When we watch James Madison, we watch Tulane play. There's going to be guys that we're going to be watching the next couple of years on these other teams, right? Quarterback from James Madison, we're going to see him at Indiana or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
That's really what we're watching. Silly. Just
oh my goodness.
Yep.
Well, let's get into this, Brian. Where do you think the opportunities are to fix this? We know that they're not going to go back to what we really want. That's, older systems and tradition and all that. That's all gone. That's all gone. But with this expanded playoff, do you think sticking at 12, but just reformat it? Do you think they can go to 16 and that might solve some of these issues? Like, what do you think some of the fixes are for this?
Can we clarify the question? Meaning, is it like, I'm never going to be happy?
Well, no, I know that. Neither one of us. That's why we have a whole podcast dedicated to doing 80s, 90s, and early 2000s games, the College Football Retro Show.
So
it used to be better.
Yeah, here's the only way I think you fix it, but but I almost think it's going to make it worse. So, okay, here's how you fix it. But truthfully, I think it's going to become the NFL model. It's going to be Big Ten, SEC, everybody else. But let's just say that doesn't happen. All right. In the interim, let's say that doesn't happen. Here's what I think. There needs to be, like you said, there needs to be those qualifications that get you into the playoff, and you know what they are, right? So you don't leave it in the hands of a committee. That, whatever that is, your conference championship, however you wanted, back to divisions, Big Ten divisions, whatever that might be, Big 12, right? Whatever you might be, there has to be some tangible reason to get you into the playoff, to qualify you in the playoff. That has to be number one, okay? But here's where you run into the problem again, okay? Looking at this, who are the two best teams? Your top 2 teams are both from the Big Ten, right? Well, what if one year you're the top 3 teams in the country are from the Big Ten? They're just the best teams, right? Well, are you only giving it to your conference winners and then a couple At large berths, well, then it becomes opinion again, right? Like it's all like if it's something where like maybe it's the top 2 teams in each league, but how do you do that? Because there's so many, like there has to be some form of qualifying factor to make it worth it. Whatever that number is, it'll get to something stupid like 24 and just bother me, and I'll still watch. But there has to be a qualifying factor, whatever that might be. There has
to be a solidified criteria.
Thank you. And I still think it's going the opposite way though. I still think it's going more the NFL style. I still think it's going to be because all the money's in the SEC and the Big Ten, and I think you're going to have those teams, and all the other schools can fend for themselves, or they can join the Big Ten and SEC. That being said, for the sake of discussion, that doesn't happen. There has to, like you said, there has to be that criteria. Whatever it is, there has to be a set of criteria so you don't get this.
But I guess what would that set criteria be? I mean, I would assume the 4 conference champions from the Power 4, they get in. Like they should. They should be in. That should be part of the criteria. Like, yeah, you might get a crazy year like this. This is super rare. We have an 8-5 team win the conference. I mean, that's not normal. That is it's an outlier. So, like, I would just keep that. Like, the 4 conference winners are in, but not like last year where they tried to adjust it and then they over adjusted, right? Because last year they had the 4 conference winners all got buys. Well, that didn't work because the 4 conference winners were their best teams.
But what about the 5 power conferences, right? So remember the Florida State, they were the Power 5 conference that didn't get in, and they were undefeated a couple years ago. So you're saying you want the 5?
Well, that was when it was a 4-team playoff.
Okay. Oh, okay.
This is the expanded.
Okay. So still though, so you think the 5 conferences should get in? Pac-10, Big 12, SEC.
Well, there's no Pac-10 anymore. There's only
4. Oh, excuse me. My bad. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So there's. I know. I wish there was still the Pac-12.
Oh my god.
Trust me. I wish it was still the Pac-12.
I'm thinking it's 19.
But yeah, there's only 4 now.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Oh, okay.
So it'd be the Power 4. My gosh. But still, you have a 12-team playoff where one of the Power 4 conference champions isn't in.
So your Power 4, yeah. So you
get an automatic bid. So your Power 4 get in.
So
and then you have the top group of 5 conference winner. So I guess that would be too low.
Why?
They're in.
Why?
Because that allows the group of 5 to be playing for something throughout.
Are they one of the? So who are they? One of the best?
They'd be the 16th seed.
Are they one of the best 16? Are they one of the best 16?
Because it's just one. It's just one. It's just 1 out of 16. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with one spot being for the group of 5.
I'm not, because if you're one of those schools that's 16th, right? If you're Vanderbilt, you're like, screw that. What are we talking about? We just had the best season in our school's history. Why are we just because we want to see a cute little group of 5 get in? Screw that. Like, hey, you're right. Let that kid get in. He's going to come play quarterback for us next year, right? Like, no, I'm not a fan. I think the group of 5.
Then if that's the case, then it needs to just be what you think it's going to be, and it's just the NFL model.
Yes. Or relegation,
which I'm okay with. I'm okay with it. Gets to that because what I want is the way it used to be. I want it the way it used to be, but it's not going to ever be that way. So I know it's going to be this expanded playoff.
Yeah.
So I just want structure. I want structure going into the season. I know what my team needs to do. If I'm a Notre Dame fan, I like Notre Dame. They're not, but I'm not living and dying with them. I'm not going to lose sleep over the fact they didn't get in. But I'm just frustrated with the fact that I don't know what the criteria is week to week. I don't know.
Correct.
So if we had known that, we would have just known Notre Dame was done.
Correct.
Weeks ago.
Correct.
Right? Because we know they weren't going to get in over Miami as long as Miami had kept winning. Correct. We knew that whether Alabama lost or won in the conference championship game, whether they got destroyed, it wasn't going to matter. Alabama was going to be above Notre Dame. So we would have known.
Correct.
But we didn't know. And we didn't know until this committee came in and told us. We didn't know just watching the games on Saturday. That is ridiculous. That is stupid. That is just stupid. We should know when we're watching the games what the outcomes actually mean.
I agree. And I think, Dan, it's going to happen naturally, like my logic. I just think the financial aspect of it, you can't downplay that. Like, again, Dave Portnoy, we just saw Michigan because they wanted a quarterback so bad, gave $10 million to a kid, right, who threw for 64 yards in the biggest game of the year. And I know we harp on Bryce Underwood. I'm not picking on him, but I'm saying there's money there, and the powers that be will make it happen, and those that aren't interested won't. I think it's that simple. I do. I think that naturally is going to happen. I don't like it, but I think it's naturally going to happen.
So the final topic I want to get into, Brian.
Be happy though, because we both genuinely root for schools that will put up the financial money and give us reasons to keep watching and into the postseason. No, we do.
Well, I mean, your team's Michigan State. It looks like they're ready to put all the money in the world in right now.
To remain relevant, you have to. I think, like, it's obvious. You have to, or you're not going to be relevant.
Well, look at Texas Tech. Look at Texas Tech. They put more money than anybody this year, and look where they're at.
Great example.
Look where they're at.
Great example.
They're in, and they got a bye week.
Yep.
I can't in as the 4th seed.
Do you know what would be a fun topic for another night, because it's getting late? But like, I can't imagine like Dan Mullen right now coaching at UNLV, just had one of their best years in a long time, and like just knowing you had a great year and you're about to lose your best players probably to the Power 4. You know what I mean? Like, I can't.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's the transfer portal. I mean,
that's
with the transfer portal.
That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, the last issue I wanted to talk about was Notre Dame, and with all this that's going on with them missing the playoff. You mentioned that like maybe they're getting strong armed to try to join a conference. Do you think this pushes them to at least think about it?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I don't know. I'm sure they've been thinking about it for a while, but do we really think they're in the playoff if they're 10-2?
If they're a 10-2 Big Ten team or a 10-2 SEC team, yes, they're in.
You think so?
Yes.
Why?
Because I think their schedule would dictate that. I think they would be playing a little bit more higher profile games. We'd be playing higher brands, and I think just the fact that they're in the Big Ten or the SEC, and there'd be a 2-loss team. I think it just gets them in, just based on being in those conferences.
So is that?
But the other part is too. Maybe they're if they have that same record. Who's to say who they would have been playing if they had those schedules too. So it's hard to say. It's all hypothetical, but let's just say they were a 10-2 team and maybe one loss was out of conference, one loss was in conference. We're playing hypotheticals. Just play that way. Okay. So they were 10-2, but they're only had one loss in conference. Well, they're probably playing in the conference championship game. So if you're in the conference championship game, you're in. And it doesn't matter if you lose or not. It doesn't matter if you get killed or not. As we saw with Alabama, they were a 2-loss team, went in to the conference championship game, got smoked, 3-loss team, and they're firmly in.
Unless you're BYU, but
they're not in the SEC or the Big Ten.
I know. I think, which going back to it, to my point, if there's going to be 2 major conferences, right, and who knows, it could just become like the AFC and the NFC, right? You know what I'm saying? And then put 30 teams in each side, whatever.
Well, that's why I think that's ultimately where we're headed. We're in this weird
in-between
stage right now. But that's where the end game. That's the end game.
No.
Like you like to say, let's not kid ourselves. Like that's the end game.
Yep.
The end game, whether it's a couple years from now, whether it's 10 years from now, like it's coming. Yep. It is going to be the NFC, AFC, Big Ten, SEC.
Yeah.
And you're going to have divisions. I'm seeing like 24 to 30 teams each one, and you have divisions. Just 4 divisions, just like in each conference, just like you do in the NFL. It's going to look just like the NFL.
Yep. And I have no doubt Notre Dame will be one of those teams.
But at least there'll be structure.
Yeah. That's what you want.
The criteria is to get in.
I agree. Yep. Yeah, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. I mean, what are Notre Dame's options really? Like,
I think they could go to the ACC. I guess that would be the easiest move right now, but I don't think that does anything for them.
No,
I think the move is either the Big Ten or the SEC, and I think the thing that makes the most sense is just join the Big Ten. Figure it out. Yeah. Even if you have to make if you're the Big Ten, you got to make some concessions to get Notre Dame in. Man, it just makes too much sense for everybody. Mm-hmm. Makes too much sense from a geographical sense, makes too much sense from a money sense, makes too much sense from a tradition sense. And now with Notre Dame, with their situation with not making the playoff, and they got to come to the table and be like, hey guys, it's let's do this. Like it's time. It's time.
Yeah.
And the Big Ten has a deal with Peacock, so it's
Yeah.
not like
right.
it's not like Notre Dame has a deal with like ESPN and their rivals with Fox. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
NBC, whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's a connection there, so it's
Yeah.
not like you can. I feel like there's wiggle room to figure this freaking thing out and get noted from a TV deal perspective and a money perspective. Like this, work this crap out, man. Like,
Yeah.
Notre Dame should be in a conference. They just should be.
Yeah. I mean, because what I'm saying is if it's a situation, yes. Do I think immediately this will put them in a playoff? No. I think but going again back to your criteria, I don't know what they do with their schedule. Like I don't know. I don't know, Dan.
But that's the thing. If they join the Big Ten, you still got your USC rivalry.
Yeah.
And then you renew your Michigan rivalry and your Michigan State rivalry. You still play Purdue. Like you got Northwestern, right? Like geographically, it's all the teams are right there for you. You're right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It's always made too much sense for them to be in it, but they've always avoided it because they're making too much money being independent.
Correct. Yep. Correct.
They get their own TV deal just to them.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. They're a national brand, and there was a time. I think when the Big Ten was there a conversation about it, and the Big Ten wasn't willing to bring them in at one point. I don't know. I'm with you.
Didn't Bill Schembechler have the classic quote, "The hell with Notre Dame"?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he did.
I think it was when Notre Dame was probably refusing to join, and
yeah.
Because I'd be interested. We should do this one day. Is kind of go back and look at all this and note the history of Notre Dame and the Big Ten. Because I would think when Penn State joined, there had to be a pretty serious push to get Notre Dame in too.
Yeah, I'm sure there was. I don't remember that. I think I was like 10. But it's possible. It's possible. I said cataclysmic. Maybe it is Notre Dame joining the Big Ten. And again, though, I think it's going to happen anyway. And like naturally, I don't think it has to be specifically the Big Ten. I think you're going to have your haves and your have-nots, and Notre Dame's going to be a have. And that's just, I think it's just that simple. That's what whoever is in charge wants it to be. Yep.
Well, if there's one change that's going to happen, let's say as soon as next season, what do you think that change is going to be? I think it's going to move to 16 teams.
I think you're not going to have a group of 5.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be it too. And then what does the group of 5 do at that point? Do they just have their own playoff?
Fine by me.
Like, or they still have a chance to get in if they reach a certain rank, like if they're ranked in the top 16 just naturally, like they don't have an automatic bid. I guess that's like they just automatic bids are gone.
Yeah.
For a group of 5, they have to truly earn it and be. I say earn
why?
It, quote.
Why
be ranked actually?
Why can't they have their own NIT playoff?
There's not going to be nearly as much money for those teams. I got to imagine the money that James Madison and Tulane are going to be getting from these games,
for sure,
and the TV and everything is
to your
for them
point,
and their conferences.
To your point, though, money to them means money is not going where? To Notre Dame,
or the other conferences, and I think that's a part of why Miami got in, because they couldn't keep a Power 4 conference completely out.
No doubt.
They weren't going to put Duke in, so they had to put Miami in. If Virginia had, I wonder, this is what I really wonder. If Virginia had won,
is Notre Dame in?
Is Notre Dame in?
Yeah. Yep. It's a great question.
I don't know.
But why is Miami more qualified than Virginia? If Virginia would have won, I'm saying. They both would have had 2 losses. Why is and Virginia played in the conference championship. It was the conference champion. Miami wasn't. Stupid. Again,
yeah,
stupid.
well, Virginia
would have. What was Miami's criteria?
But Virginia would have been the ACC champion.
No, so let's say Virginia would have beaten Duke yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. Virginia only had 2 losses.
So you think Virginia?
So they were ranked pretty close to Miami.
So you think Virginia? So you think Virginia and Notre Dame would be in?
I think Virginia would be in, and I think the question would be down. And then you'd be talking about one spot between Alabama, Miami, and Notre Dame. So you'd be leaving two of those three out.
God, so bad, so silly.
It's
we're doing
ridiculous.
there. Yep, so silly what we're doing. Yep,
it's ridiculous.
Yep, it is. It is, man. It is. I got nothing else, man. It's like I said, cataclysmic. I think the sport is going to be changed forever. Whatever that's going to look like, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just going to leave it with this, though. I hate just bashing the group of five, but like, let's be real. Take out James Madison, take out Tulane, and add in Notre Dame, and let's say Vanderbilt. You could throw BYU in there, but I think Vanderbilt is a little bit more deserving. Yeah. They're both two lost teams, and I think Vanderbilt has a little bit more quality wins playing in the SEC. But let's just and Vanderbilt's fun with Pavia and all that craziness. So you add in Vanderbilt and you add in Notre Dame. That first round,
awesome.
How much more exciting is it? How much more competitive the games are?
Awesome.
Like take out James Madison and put in Vanderbilt there. Vanderbilt at Oregon. That's a fun as hell game.
Notre Dame going to Ole Miss.
And then you take out Tulane and you put in Notre Dame at Ole Miss.
Awesome.
And then potentially Notre Dame against Georgia.
Yep.
And then whoever wins Vanderbilt, Oregon against Texas Tech. That's just so much better than what you have right now.
Here's the other
games that are just these were games that would be the first week of the season that you're like, who cares? Who cares? They're going to blow off, whatever.
This is my final point. Again, why we're going to the haves and have-nots. I mean, give credit to Texas Tech. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit because I'd be lying if I said I've watched a ton of Texas Tech football, right? But you have a conference champion there with a bye, okay? Who wins, Oregon or Texas Tech?
I would take Oregon.
So would I think the majority of the country, right?
Yeah.
So like we're giving a conference champion a bye. And we both sit here thinking they're not going to win. So really, Oregon, who finished what in the Big Ten? Third, right? They're going to be your semifinalists. Very similar to Penn State a year ago, who had the nice draw and were a semifinalist. Like, dude, it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
And Ohio State, who
they had a great draw,
fourth in the Big Ten last year.
Yep, had a great draw.
Made their run.
Had a great draw. Yeah. To your point, there needs to be criteria. I don't know
my final thought, Brian. And I'm going to throw it back to the game that actually was played last night in Indiana and Ohio State. Right? We talked about it. Like, what does it matter? Are they going to really play everybody? At the end of the day, and why we love this so much, despite all the stuff we talked about tonight, despite all the stuff we've talked about and all the podcasts we've done, and all the ridiculousness, when you just take away all the bullshit, like all the garbage, right? You just take it all away and you just kick the ball off. And you have these two college football teams and you have the fans and the bands and you just play the game and you take all the bullshit away. There's really nothing better. Yeah. Like you watching that Indiana Ohio State, like I forgot about all the crap, all the stuff we had talked about. Like, I forgot about all that crap. And I'm just watching these two teams compete because they cared, like they wanted it. Like we wondered, like, would they play for it? Would they want it? Would they play their starter? All that. They absolutely did. Both teams wanted it. They wanted the Big Ten title. They wanted to win and be the number one team in the country. They wanted to be undefeated, and they played their hearts out, man. And it was a fantastic football game, a defensive battle, and like the offenses were, there was just so much talent on that field, and the offenses had to make plays. They had to make plays. They had to make throws. Mendoza made unbelievable throws against that incredible, historically great defense. And it was just a fantastic football game. But imagine if you took away all of the bullshit and we just had that. Like you didn't have to worry about these stupid rankings and committees and all this crap. Like if they could just find a way to fix all this crap in the NIL and the transfer portal and coaches leaving in the middle of a playoff or all this, it's so bad. It's so bad. But when you finally just play the game, it's so good.
Yeah. Fast forward in a month. Do we think those two teams are going to play again in that final matchup?
Ooh, man.
I think
I've been so like thinking about how frustrated I am with the actual rankings and everything. I haven't really broke down like how teams match up in the brackets because originally, man, I thought it was going to be Notre Dame and Ohio State in a rematch. Because I thought Notre Dame is that good, and that's why I'm so frustrated that they're not in it. But with them out of it, I think it's shaping up that way.
Well, for me,
look at it, I think it shapes up that way.
I thought Ohio State was going to win the other night, and then they'd be one. And I thought we would have an Ohio State-Georgia final, but obviously that's not going to happen. That's going to happen
be semifinals.
Semifinals, yeah. So I think the winner of that game is going to be your national champion. Like I think
Georgia.
Yeah, like I mean, not down. I mean, people are not knocking Indiana; they just beat them. I'm not saying anything like that, but like again, Ohio State, they left some plays on the field the other night. So I think that the winner of that game is
the missed field goal.
Obviously, right? Chip shot. Yeah. I think the winner of that game is your national champion. So
you very well could be right. Especially if it's Indiana, Ohio State again to try to win back to back.
Yeah.
Man, it's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough. So
but yeah, like we said, we've argued and we've talked about all these things that are so frustrating and so many inconsistencies, the controversies and all that, but and maybe the first round might be, Alabama, Oklahoma would be fun. Miami, Texas A&M should be decent, but really, once we get into the second round of the semifinals, we really get into the nitty gritty of this. It's going to be some great football. We'll enjoy it. We'll have fun. We'll break it down.
We will.
All that, but yeah. Any final thoughts, Brian?
No.
Before we sign off here?
No, we're good, man. We're good. It's always fun talking ball.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that'll wrap it up for us tonight. That was Inside the Coach's Office, and for Brian Barnes, I'm Dan Murphy, and we'll see you again next week.